everyone. Welcome back to Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast. I'm Charles Skaggs. And with me for our very first commentary episode, as always, Zan Sprouse.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. How are you, Zan?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to try our commentary.
Yes, we're trying something new this time.
Yeah.
We've got our technical setups because we're not in the same room. So this could be kind of interesting.
I think it's going to be very interesting. I think we have the timing set up very well.
Right.
And I'm excited about this idea that we're going to be doing commentary for episodes.
Right, because I know this is something you've been championing for quite a while now.
Well, I've talked to some people who listen to TV show-related podcasts.
Right.
And they say that some of the commentary ones are the fan favorites.
Okay.
And those are the episodes that the people I talk to really enjoy.
Okay.
So I think this will be fun, first of all, because these are episodes that I've seen a lot,
right,
and I like to talk about with someone who has also seen them a lot.
Right.
And I get to watch Twin Peaks.
And what's wrong with that?
It's almost like I have to watch Twin Peaks for work.
Yes.
So what could be better?
So twist my arm, ow, ow, ow,
yeah,
ow,
yeah.
Right.
Watching Twin Peaks like it was your job. Okay.
If that could only be get paid for watching Twin Peaks.
Where is that job?
Yeah, I want that. Come on,
exactly.
You don't see that on LinkedIn,
right? You'd have to be. Oh man, what was his name? What was the famous TV critic?
Roger Ebert. Oh, the TV critic.
Yeah. Shales. What was his first name?
I don't know. I don't know that guy.
Oh, I'll have to look that up later.
Okay.
It'll
I just know movie critics, I guess.
Right, like Gene Shalit
Roger Ebert or Siskel.
Or Rex Reed
Yep.
Yeah.
Still blows my mind that Rex Reed is in the original Superman movie.
I know. How did he get that lucky gig?
Yeah. Nepotism? Not much. Probably.
Tom Shales.
That's Tom Shales. Okay, yeah, I think I've heard the name. Why can't
we all have the Tom Shales job?
Yeah.
I believe he was a writer for TV Guide or New York Magazine or one of those. But yeah, Tom Shales, the TV critic. That was your bread and butter back in the day if Tom Shales liked you.
Pretty sweet.
Your show was going to do okay.
Okay, so yep, we're going to watch some Twin Peaks, everybody. And what are we going to watch? We are going to watch Traces to Nowhere, a.k.a. the
Episode 1.
Well, technically it's kind of episode 2 because it's right after the pilot.
Well, there's how when there's a contest,
right,
there's the grand prize winner and then there's the first prize winner.
Right.
It's kind of confusing because the first prize is really second place.
The first runner-up.
Right. So we have the pilot.
Yes.
And then we have episode 1.
Right. This is kind of like the first regular episode after the pilot.
Right. When we know that we're going to have a series.
Right.
And we can go on from there. Right. And I'll tell you something, Charles, and I think I've told you this before, that I did not see Twin Peaks when it aired originally.
Yeah.
And back then, that was 1990, Twin Peaks was a weird show, and it didn't get repeated. And it was only a 2-season series.
Right.
So,
it wasn't big and long. It wasn't on long enough to get syndication.
Right. You need at least 3 seasons to be syndicated, I believe, or maybe it's 5.
Yes.
I forget. But
and Twin Peaks' first season was only 8 episodes. So
8 right. So this never got repeated, and so what I was left with was the video release, which was the European movie.
Right. And then that's very different, isn't it?
Very, very different.
As we've discussed.
That has the bits with Bob.
Bob at the ending. So that was essentially your first experience with Bob.
Right. So then in this episode where Cooper is talking about his dream and he knows who killed Laura Palmer, and then Harry is like, okay, who did it? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? You were just in the basement with him. And so that always confused me. And then when I saw, I believe it was when Bravo was rerunning it in the mid-90s and I was in college, I finally got to see the original pilot where it's the...
with the ending with Sarah Palmer screaming.
Right, because she sees the flashlight in the dark and the hand digging up the necklace.
She has a vision, and she wakes up or whatever, and she's screaming.
Right.
Yeah.
And she sees that someone digging up the necklace, which we find later is Dr. Jacoby. That episode makes it look a lot more ominous than it really turns out to be.
Right.
It's just Dr. Jacoby being creepy and following kids around.
And that was my first experience because I had watched the Twin Peaks live.
Right.
So, like, seeing that getting that blood curdling scream from Grace Zabriskie at the end, that was just like, ooh, I'm hooked. I got to find out what happens next week.
Well, and when I finally did see it, I screamed out loud, just like it would have been 1990.
Yeah.
I was, whoa, my God! It made this episode make a lot more sense to me because I knew that I was missing something from just seeing this European part. That there was some bit of information that I was totally missing. So, tell me again, what was the premiere date of Twin Peaks?
I believe it was April 5th. No, wait, no, that doesn't. Well, it could be because this episode aired on April 12th, 1990. So a week before that would have been April 5th.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, which of course is Lori and my anniversary date.
Which, awesome.
Yeah,
that is being married under
purely coincidental.
That's being married under a good sign right there. Let me tell you.
That was just serendipity, I think.
It was serendipitous, yes. Well, when this came out, I was in the 8th grade.
Right.
So I was still kind of a kid, and back then I wasn't all that big on hour-long dramas. But then by the time I got into high school, I was a little more into that sort of thing and got hooked on it then.
All right. So this is, like I said, April 12th, 1990, written by Mark Frost and David Lynch.
Excellent.
So it's obviously important and obviously very good. And directed by Dwayne Dunham, who I think does a pretty good job of kind of transitioning from David Lynch's pilot episode.
I think so.
Because he does it, I was reading up on this, he was using a lot of the same like filters and like he would use like an orange filter.
Okay.
Or reddish, with a reddish tint to things.
I can see that.
And, he's trying to kind of like keep a similar style because obviously you don't want anything too drastic of a change from the pilot.
No, I think he does a good job with this. And I think most of the directors, I can't think of any episodes that I would not say this about, but I think the directors that they chose, aside from David Lynch, do a good job of keeping the David Lynch feel of this show, but also keeping it accessible and TV appropriate David Lynch.
TV friendly, yeah.
TV friendly. David Lynch tends to rely a lot on the visual, and there can be a lot of silence in his movies, and that's great, but when you're a captive audience of a film who has decided to go to that film. And when you're on television, you can't have long periods of silence like that because you might have people flipping around. What is this show? Nobody's talking. Goodbye.
Yep.
It's even worse in radio. If you're flipping channels on radio and you hear a little bit, 2 seconds of silence on radio is too much.
Yeah, pretty much. You can't have that dead air.
Right. So I think they do a good job of keeping this TV friendly, but still keeping the David Lynch feel.
Well, it also helps that the fact that this is shorter than a pilot, so so you have to get more story in,
right?
And you don't have room to draw out the scenes, I think.
Right.
So
job there.
Yep. So all right, for anyone that wants to kind of sync along with us, if you want to kind of watch the episode right along with our commentary. Hopefully you do, because that's why we're doing this. If you want a good place to kind of sync up with us, we have decided that we are starting from the end of the opening credits, right after written by Mark Frost and David Lynch.
Created by Mark Frost and David Lynch.
Yes, thank you. Created by Mark Frost and David Lynch. So it's essentially, and it's the shot where just after that text fades out, and all you see is the reflected image of trees in the river. And it's right before we start the episode cutting to Snoqualmie Falls.
Right, it's just before the episode begins. It's right after the text goes away.
It's the very end of the opening credits.
We're both paused. We're ready to press play.
Yep.
and we'll sync up. This is our version of the third roar of the lion in the MGM logo before you start your Dark Side of the
Yes.
Moon album while you're watching
Right.
Wizard of Oz.
Right, exactly. So join us, please, as we do what? Mystery Ghostwood Theater 3000, or
Love it.
yeah,
Love
like
it.
that.
So when we press pause, you and I, Charles, do you want to do 1, 2, 3 play, or 1, 2 play on 3?
I'll leave it up to you.
Let's do 1, 2, 3 play.
Okay, so on play we will press start, or press play. Yes.
Yes, on play we will press play. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. 1, 2, 3, play. So here we have beautiful Snoqualmie Falls in Snoqualmie, Washington.
Yes.
This shot you can actually see when there's a hiking trail that is a lookout, and you can take that exact photo.
And you've been there, so I'm completely jealous of you.
I have like 1,000 because that's all I did. I just took 1,000,000 photos.
I don't blame you. I would too. I'd be like, everybody else, you go on without me. I'm just going to stay here and take pictures for like a week.
You gotta love the gun rack in Cooper's room. That some sort of cloven-hoofed creature holding a gun. Yeah,
you have very trustworthy hotel guests if you're going to leave rifles in their room.
Right, rifles, and I never quite realized how much like Psycho this hotel is with all of its taxidermy.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a Billy Bass that he's got there? Oh, hint of Douglas fir needles in the air.
Written by Mark Frost and David Lynch.
By Dwayne Dunham.
Yep.
And here we have Cooper in his gravity boots.
Michael Keaton. Oh wait, that was the Batman.
Not quite. Yeah, that was 1989.
That was 1989. Yeah. So this is so Cooper just ripped off Michael Keaton, I think.
Oh, El Paso. All things being equal, I'd rather be in Philadelphia.
Yep.
Now we have Cooper hanging upside down, talking about how the TV looks like it's cable, no reception problems. Morning cup of coffee is the true test of any hotel. This is a great. We could have Cooper without his pants on for the whole episode, if you ask me.
Yeah, even though he's in a wife beater.
Yeah, that's a problem. Oh,
but I like he leaves his socks with the garters on.
He's so wonderfully square.
Yeah.
Who really pulled the trigger on JFK? I'm a little early with that, but that's the thing that he's telling Diane. There are things that trouble him. So here he is now in the
Wait a minute.
Great Northern Restaurant, and he wants an audience for his first drink of coffee. Look at these guys behind him. These guys behind him fixing their lures up with their what I'm assuming are silicone fish.
Right.
Here we go. Damn fine cup of coffee.
Damn fine cup of coffee. Yes.
And he has to make this poor waitress listen to his coffee story.
Well, she's probably heard worse.
Oh, here we go. I love this.
Audrey kind of peeks in.
And this is how I like my bacon. Super crispy, almost burned, cremated.
Yep. I want that guy's toque behind him.
Oh, seriously. These are fabulous. As long as those grapefruits are freshly squeezed.
That's not a sexual innuendo.
That's not an innuendo at all.
No.
Here we have Cooper with his first glimpse of Audrey Horne, who is 18, by the way, Diane.
Lest you think otherwise.
Lest you think otherwise, yes.
Yeah, don't call the cops, Diane.
She's a bit of a vixen, but he's not that creepy.
No.
So, and he's using his Cooper powers of deduction to figure out that she is the daughter of the owner. Oh, that is a fabulous toque. And even
Isn't that and it says Canada on
Canada
it. Right.
That's amazing.
Take off to the great North. Take off. Yeah.
Hey, Getty, I can't believe you did this. Yeah, well, $10 is $10, eh?
Yeah.
So here we have Audrey explaining that Laura helped take care of Johnny, who is severely special needs, and partially why...
Ring. Oh, look out. It's a ring.
Don't take the ring, Audrey.
Don't take the ring, Cooper.
And unfortunately for Audrey, having I get so flushed, it's interesting. She's trying so hard to seduce him. It's so cute. Do your palms ever itch? AKA, do you masturbate, Agent Cooper?
You know they have lotions for that, right?
She's trying so hard. Yes, but Johnny is partially why she kind of gets ignored in her family. Not only her parents' bad marriage and her father being a total jerk, but she has a brother who needs most of their attention. But he's very sweet and loving, and she loves him. So
I love it. Everybody's like going to town on these donuts here.
look at those boxes. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like there's like 8 boxes of donuts. There's like 8 boxes of donuts for what are there like 7 people in this office?
I'll be injecting my insulin in 15 minutes.
5 minutes, yes. Yeah. And now we find out that James is still in lockup. He's been there overnight. And they're going to check out Bobby's vehicle.
Yep. And
we're just basically going over our day here. And Michael Ontkeen has basically shoved half of an entire bear claw in his mouth.
Right. And I really have to urinate. Yes.
Coffee at the Great Northern, incredible.
Well, Cooper obviously has kidney stones because of all that caffeine, right?
He would have to. Something.
He's always good, like, urinating.
Oh, this makes me so sad. The idea that Dr. Hayward had to deliver Laura as a baby, see her as one of his ersatz daughters, and then do her autopsy.
Well, obviously he farmed it out to this guy named Joe Fielding.
Right. Just the concept of that.
Because he couldn't do it himself. Yeah, it's like pretty bad. Like he's obviously affected here.
And this is horrible too. That what killed her is loss of blood.
Yep.
That is a long, painful way to die.
Right.
And it's just it makes what happened to Laura even sadder. Lesions on wrists, ankles, upper arms where she was tied up.
Various bite marks.
Thank you very much, Jacques.
Yeah. And Waldo. Waldo's not innocent either.
Waldo, I think you've heard me describe Waldo as the way they describe the Rancor in the novelization of Return of the Jedi.
No.
Waldo's not bad, he's just dumb and mistreated. And I think that's exactly why I love the Rancor, because he's not a bad character. They chain him up and starve him. What do you want and beat him? What do you want from him?
Exactly.
And then here we find out that Ronette is still suffering from a very severe head injury. Whether or not she's going to be able to talk to them is still unclear. And we pretty much don't see much of Ronette throughout this series where she is not completely traumatized.
No, we do see her parents in this episode later on.
Yes, we do. And just the thought, and Doc Hayward here is thinking about how horrible it must have been for her to watch what happened to Laura and assume that what was happening to Laura was going to happen to her next. And I wonder if, God.
Big pussycat.
Leo.
Shelley goes to Leo, and then Leo comes out of the truck and says, "Get me a beer."
Oh, no, that's Chris Farley.
I know.
Yeah, did you finish cleaning my boots? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And here he's baiting her. Did she do all the laundry? Oh, no, he's got more laundry for her.
Yeah, here.
But,
wash that.
But little does he forgets what's in that bag.
Yep.
And he doesn't...
now, Shelley.
This is where we live, Shelley.
Yep.
I love how Leo's got a flashy sports car, and he's really not doing a whole heck of a lot, but Norma's got to come pick her up.
Shelley is like a Me Too movement waiting to happen.
Oh, he's the worst. So, yeah, and I think this is a bizarre thing. Yeah. Oh, what do we have here? Blood on a shirt.
Yep. World's tiniest washing machine, though.
And why in Washington is the washing machine outside? I mean, I can understand
weren't they remodeling inside, though? Maybe they just have it out there temporarily.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. They
because remember, there's all that plastic wrap.
Yes.
And around the kitchen area.
Oh, geez. And this
is where he grabs her cheek and he goes,
"Save me a piece of pie." Here's where abusers are just the worst, where they act like they're loving and want to see you, but they're also very, very threatening.
Yeah, like I could just twist your cheek out and twist it, and
right.
He's such boo.
And as we find out later, as Cooper says later, Shelley Johnson is about 89 pounds soaking wet.
Right.
He's a lot bigger than her and obviously very, very threatening.
You can't blame her for getting the gun.
No, you sure can't. Oh, and here we have the
The infamous video of Laura and Donna
on a picnic.
Yep. Yeah, we were like hoping to become YouTube stars.
Oh my gosh! If only they knew. And Cooper's pausing it on the close-up of Laura's eye, where you can see.
Holy smokes!
Holy smokes!
I love Lucy when she does that.
Lucy's so impressed. And so they're figuring out that.
Well, it is very Batman of Cooper to figure that out.
It is very, very Batman of Cooper. It's very Cooper of Cooper.
That's true, I should say. Yeah, I don't want to discredit Cooper because obviously he's up there with like Sherlock Holmes and Batman. And
I was going to say he's like a Sherlock Holmes, but without the douchebaggery.
Right.
Sherlock Holmes is
and the cocaine habit.
There's that too. Yes. Substitute cocaine for donuts
or heroin, excuse me.
And being nice to your fellow man, and then you've got Cooper.
Yeah.
But because he's kind of an ass.
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes.
He's like Sherlock Holmes without being a sociopath.
Seriously.
Right.
James is such a sweet kid, and he's one of those kids that just breaks your heart. That kid that has the absent dad, the party mom.
Yep.
Has to live with his uncle, who is also a really sweet man.
Yeah, this is all we really ever find out about James's mom in the series.
Right, that she's.
And it seems like kind of a wasted opportunity. Like we could have found something out more about her.
I'm wondering if his wanting to please that older woman in the James Hurley saga is a bit of a mom issue.
I didn't think about that, but you could be right.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe we'll talk more about that during that episode.
Yes.
Sparkwood in 21, which, by the way, is what I wanted to call this podcast, but it was already taken.
Yep.
So.
That's okay. I like Ghostwood.
I like Ghostwood, too. Yeah, Ghostwood was definitely my second choice, but when you asked me...
Yeah, I gave you several options, and you kind of liked Ghostwood, too, so...
Well, you asked me what should we call it. My first reaction was Sparkwood in 21, and you said, that's taken. And I said, all right, Ghostwood. And you're like, that's what I was thinking, too. But James is such a sweet character, and he's one of those guys that you wouldn't think to look at him because he's the biker loner, quiet guy in the high school.
He looks pretty good for spending a night in lockup.
He does.
Doesn't even have beard growth.
Here we have the necklace that he and Donna buried the night before.
Day one.
And Cooper just asked him if you gave her this necklace, and he said yes. It's like, why'd you guys bother burying the other half then? It's like if you're just going to tell the cops that you gave it to her. Come on. Day one. And this, remember, of course, is still the fake diary.
And we'll throw Laura Palmer's theme in.
Oh, yes. Because your skin is so soft and you smell so good. Because I know that you really love me. And here we have...
But you're so dumb. Oh, wait. That's later.
I can only handle so much of sweet. And again, we realize that... And here we have Laura giving the necklace.
The breaking of the locket.
The breaking of the necklace. Oh, it wasn't a locket. You could buy these back in the 90s. They were...
Oh, okay. I thought it was...
They sold them at like Claire's or the Icing, or... There was another store like Claire's, and I forget what it was called.
Leo's
but there was a... Oh, yeah, Leo can't find his bloody shirt. But they were necklaces that were marketed towards girls, that they would give each other...
Take that washing machine.
Yeah. One would buy the necklace and the other would give the other one the half. And there you would see girls in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s wearing those necklaces a lot. And I found a pin, a broken heart pin.
Yeah.
That I gave the other half to my friend Troy, who is another, of course, I've mentioned him before on the podcast, a big Twin Peaks fan. And he has a custom made jacket that he did that is a Twin Peaks related jacket. And so he had it on the lapel of that jacket for a while.
Very cool.
So we have Mike and Bobby still in jail where they should have stayed the entire time. Yeah,
there's flannel and mullets, just in case you weren't sure this was a 90s show.
This is
right?
I know Bobby looks like he's just
Mike is rocking the serious mullet here.
Mike's rocking kind of a mullet and the flannel, and then Bobby looks like he's ready for a Nirvana concert.
Yes.
And so they're talking about how they owe money, and Laura has the remaining amount of money in her security, in her
possession,
box. And he's like, you didn't get the money back from her? It's like, well, I was gonna, but then she died on me, man. So they have no idea what they're going to do. So We now know that they owe Leo Johnson $10,000 because the football is empty and I'm looking for Santa Claus. And Mike is saying, we're lucky we're in jail because when we get out, Leo's going to
kill us. Yes, yep.
And
Bobby tries to act all tough against Mike.
Yeah. Well, here's the beginning of what we were talking about in last week's episode. Here we have...
James, come out and play!
Yes, Bobby and... it's like we have two lions in cages next to each other kill each other.
Yep.
We were talking last time when we were doing the parody and homage episode that this series was really setting you up to believe that Leo was the killer of Laura Palmer. And this conversation between Mike and Bobby is definitely helping with that.
So we get another shot of the video, all slow-mo.
Yes, and in Laura Palmer's beautiful face.
And she says, "Help me.
Help me." And
help me, Spock. Help me,
Spock.
Spock, help me.
Mom, why'd you let me sleep in? I was going to go to school the day after my friend was murdered. No, honey, we're pulling you out of school for like a good 2 weeks. Yep. Okay.
Laura Flynn Boyle before the surgery.
Oh my goodness. Yes. And of course we have Mary Deschanel, Zooey Deschanel's mother.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
What is her sister's name? The one who's on Bones?
Oh, Emily.
Emily Deschanel, yes. Zoe and Emily Deschanel's mother.
Yeah.
And if you look at her right here in the scene, it's obvious. You can really tell that they are her daughters.
Now that I see, she does kind of look like Zoe.
Right. Give her some bangs and some nerd glasses.
And you let her look all adorkable.
Adorkable. I like that term.
You like that?
That's pretty cute.
I can't claim to have invented it, but
well, it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
I
steal from the best. Yeah, I could kind of see that.
I love how the Haywoods are these really, really understanding parents.
Right.
You know, she sneaks out to the Roadhouse, aka a bar.
Yeah.
To meet a guy they don't know.
Well, they trust their daughter.
They do trust their daughter. And I love that her dad's reaction is, aren't you supposed to put air in your sister's tires? You know, they understand that she's, and here we go, that they were the ones falling in love. Come on, you guys, really?
This is what's so heartbreaking, though, about in the Twin Peaks dossier, to find out that the family just went completely to hell. Since the original series. Well, yeah, exactly. Since that moment where Ben confronts everybody about being Donna's father.
Right. And I think too that there's...
And Ben loses his shit and throws Ben into the fireplace mantle.
Oh, the doc loses his shit and sends...
That's what I mean. You're right. I'm sorry. The doc loses, yes. Sorry.
Serious, look at those. Look at that. That's like 12 boxes of donuts.
I know.
Oh, here's poor Big Ed after being slipped in Mickey.
We bring him in by the truckload.
Yeah. And yeah, his mother's out of town. Yeah,
Yeah.
AKA his mother's on a bender.
Yeah.
So James gets to come out of jail. He's not being charged with anything. And Ed was there at the Roadhouse when Mike and Bobby come and see James, and then a big old fight starts. Oh, Albert Rosenfeld is on the phone.
Yep. Lights out, Mr. Monkey Wrench.
And he's so got a bruise on his head, and he thinks that he got slipped in Mickey because Jacques was tending bar last night.
Right.
Oh, here he's about to tell us what I just said. I'm getting ahead of myself here. And Harry's saying, when I saw the bandage, I thought maybe Nadine got wind of you and Norma. Nadine, poor Nadine. She's
it's funny.
Well, she's crazy.
It's funny because I'm in an abusive relationship.
Yeah, that's the thing. Back then it was like if a man is the abusee.
Yeah.
It was always in that cute. She thinks she can hit him.
Right.
And I'm glad we're steering away from that crap, because abusive relationships are abusive relationships. End of story. I don't care what gender you are. If you're being abused, get help. There's help for you.
And Ed was definitely being at least verbally abused.
Oh, absolutely. And
maybe not physically, but definitely verbally.
And I'm shocked that both Ed and Mike are still alive after her superhuman strength periods.
Right.
They got a cherry pie there that'll kill you.
That'll kill you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Right. So.
And this is only awkward, where
yeah.
Norma Jennings comes into the general store, and guess who's there? Oh,
literally bumps into Nadine.
It's her arch enemy, Nadine.
And she's like, Norma, what are you doing here? I could ask you the same question. There's one store in this town.
Right.
It's like, of course. Oh, I'm sorry. There's another store, Gentleman Jim's, apparently, where you can get draperies.
Yeah.
And here she has an entire bag full of cotton balls because she's going to do her silent drapery runners.
And I'm thinking Norma's thinking, well, yeah, I know where you could stick those cotton balls.
Well, I feel like this whole situation is just so awkward for everybody.
Right.
Because...
Well, she's obviously, has mental issues.
Nadine definitely has mental issues, and
it's not really a fair fight.
It's not a fair fight, and I think Norma understands.
Yeah, Norma's classy enough to not punch down.
Well, and she understands how Ed probably feels like he needs to take care of her.
Right.
Because, and again, within the confines of the show, Ed is the one who shot Nadine's eye out. I mean, right. I know there was a different thing in the dossier.
Oh, let's do our little Bookhouse Boys sign.
Oh, our little Bookhouse Boys. Yes, good one, Hawk.
Yep.
So, and Norma, remember, Norma's the one that got mad at Ed and ran off with Hank.
Yes.
So Norma wrote a check her butt couldn't cash. So, and she's had to live with that for the last 20 years. And I think she's sad. I think Ed is sad. I think Hank should stay in jail.
But as we know, it works out in the end.
It does work out in the end. Thank God.
The only relationship that works out on this show.
The only decent relationship in this entire town. I mean, even if the Haywards can get a divorce, no one is safe in their relationship in Twin Peaks.
Right. Pretty much.
It's terrible. So
Cooper's whistle.
Pray for the health and safety of James Hurley, because if anything happens to him, we're coming for you.
Yep.
So, Cooper knows that if James Hurley gets beaten up or his tires get slashed.
I like Harry's line here.
Which one?
Where he's
Dr. Watson line?
Yeah, he's beginning to feel a little bit like Dr. Watson.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, that's kind of you're the sidekick. Hate to break it to you.
We got fish cleaning, so we must be with Pete Martell.
One of the most iconic lines ever in Twin Peaks. Coming up.
It's top of the morning, Josie. Josie,
I'm all innocent. Don't.
I like Pete and Josie's relationship. I think it's kind of adorable, where he's protective of her and sort of weirdly
fatherly.
He's fatherly and also weirdly attracted to her. And I think she sees in Pete the allure of an innocent, law-abiding life. That he lives.
And the fact that he doesn't treat her like crap like Catherine does.
Right, he doesn't treat her like crap or like an object.
Right.
Which he
respects her, and I think he's one of the few people that Josie actually respects back.
Right. Oh my goodness! Don't pour it. Don't even pour it.
I like how she coordinated her dress with a lipstick.
She's classy.
Yep.
She knows how to present herself.
She made the effort. Both
she
orange.
Did.
Yep.
She did. Well, and that even though Andrew sort of quote unquote saved her from the gangster prostitute life in Hong Kong,
right?
He probably never let her forget it, and probably still treated her like his own personal whore. So to have Pete just treat her like a person he respects, I think she really appreciates that, and I think she really sees in him how a law-abiding, simple life can be appealing.
Right.
That could possibly work instead of.
Or at the very least, she doesn't view him as a threat like she does Catherine.
Oh, exactly, because Catherine's
a rival for her.
Right, Catherine's blaming her for
Andrew.
What Andrew did.
Yeah, for Andrew's death.
Well, not even Andrew's death, but Andrew leaving her all the money in the sawmill.
Oh, okay.
You know, the Packard sawmill was
right. Like, why didn't he leave it to me?
Right. She's part of the Packard family. Josie's just the wife. And let's be honest, for people like Andrew Packard, you know, wives are kind of a dime a dozen. I remember the feminist in me has a problem with women who sign their names Mrs. Man's name.
Right.
And I remember working at the bookstore, and there was a woman whose husband was watching her every move and right behind her with everything. And she wrote a check for her book as Mrs. his name.
Okay, so she didn't use her first name.
No. And it would be like if I signed my name Mrs. Christopher Sprouse.
Yep. So, how long you been banging Josie there, Harry?
How long you been in love with Josie? So this is Cooper's powers of deduction. So
right.
Wait, no, fellas!
Don't drink that coffee.
Drink that coffee. You'll never guess.
There was a fish in the percolator. I love how Jack Nance draws that out.
He draws it out, and he's really trying hard not to laugh.
Yeah.
So anyway, this woman wrote this check, and I almost wanted to say to her, this could be anybody.
Yeah. This is like Cooper's worst nightmare, tainted coffee.
Yep. So I wanted to say to this woman who wrote this check, this could be anybody.
Yeah.
You know, I know you're married to him right now, but there could be 8 of you throughout the course of time.
Right.
So,
you want to specify this a little more?
You want to maybe put your name here?
Yeah. You want to have at least some sense of identity.
So here we have Catherine giving Josie the guilt trip for shutting down the mill.
Right.
And we see she is in a hotel room with somebody else.
Yep.
Mystery
man.
Cahoots, but in cahoots with whom?
Not cahoots, shenanigans.
Oh, cahoots and shenanigans, definitely.
Pete,
because I think they're.
What is shenanigans?
What is shenanigans? Oh, gross! smelling the coffee pot.
Yeah, well, he's got to make sure.
And so now, what is shenanigans?
Yes. Well, actually,
nonsense, mischief, often a deceitful or treacherous trick.
Well, thanks, Merriam-Webster.
Exactly.
Appreciate the help there.
Oh, and so now we see that there has been sexy shenanigans.
Yes, sexy time with Catherine.
With Catherine and
Benjamin Horn.
Benjamin Horn.
Dun dun dun.
So we are in cahoots.
Yep. So this is the revelation of a major alliance on the show.
Well, in her opinion, it's an alliance.
Yeah, that's true.
His opinion, it's a double cross.
Well, that's what Ben does. So yes.
So because Catherine Martell is not owner of the sawmill, and Josie is, and she's having a hard time wrestling it from her, she figures, all right, well, I'll just burn it down for the insurance money, which will come to me, not her.
Right.
And she won't have her power over me anymore, and I don't have to browbeat her into submission for the rest of her life. Now, what bothers me the most about this, this is one of those towns that was built because of the sawmill industry.
So if you get rid of the sawmill industry, it goes under. Seriously,
this will turn Twin Peaks into the next Flint, Michigan.
But they obviously don't care.
This just goes to show you what horrible, horrible people these people are.
Well, and what I don't get about this whole arson plan, okay, you've had Andrew Packard, who mysteriously died, left it to Josie.
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden, the mill burns down. Yeah, that's not suspicious at all.
Well, I mean, I think when you have a sawmill, the idea that it would burn down is fairly plausible, but at the same time, it's going to be really easy to find that there's an accelerant. And here we have Benjamin Horn's foot fetish.
Yep. Well, Ben's evil because he has that ladybug tie.
Oh yeah, that's one heck of a power tie right there.
Right.
Now I remember how all those hours turned into days.
Yep.
You are horrible, horrible people.
Want me some of that hot Catherine Martell action.
Oh, that's she's
Meanwhile, at the Amityville Horror House.
meanwhile at the Palmers.
Oh wait.
Well, the thing is, I think it's so funny about how Catherine Martell is, um, Piper Laurie goes from, Piper Laurie's most famous role, let's admit it, is Carrie's mother.
Right.
So to see her in Sexy Shenanigans is kind of amusing.
Right.
Oh, this is so sad.
Yes.
Donna. Who do you think?
And Leland here is so interesting to watch, knowing what we know, because he looks all concerned.
Yeah, and usually when we see Leland as Bob, he sort of has that frown,
right,
that almost turns into a smile.
Yeah.
And here we have a look of like genuine concern.
Yeah, I think at this point they probably hadn't figured out that that Leland was Bob.
Right. No. We have not.
I mean, but I'm guessing the writers hadn't, like Mark Frost and whatnot, hadn't figured it out yet.
Oh no, I think that was the plan all along.
You think that was the plan all along?
I don't think they George Lucased this and just thought, oh crap, we got to come up with something.
Yeah.
No, I think they knew that all along, which is why Leo made such a good red herring.
Yep. Sarah's crying. Take a drink.
Oh, jeez. We're do
the Sarah Palmer drinking game.
We're gonna be drunk in 5 minutes.
I know.
Oh, so sad.
So she sees a vision of Laura on Donna's body, and Zan jumps just as much as.
I didn't close my eyes in time.
The first appearance of Bob. Everybody run!
He's terrifying.
Yes, Sarah's not taking it well. And the irony of Leland holding her at this moment.
I think yes, that is horrifically ironic. I think two of the best screamers Hollywood has ever seen are in this series.
Yeah, Cheryl Lee and Grace Zabriskie.
Because number one best scream in Hollywood.
Yep, and both obviously mother and daughter. So.
Mother and daughter. Number one best scream in the history of Hollywood, hands down. That award goes to Fay Wray.
Right.
Number two is Cheryl Lee.
Yeah, she's up there. She's definitely top 5.
Number 2 is Cheryl Lee for sure, especially after the last episode of The Return.
Right.
I think that just does it.
After all these years, she can still belt it.
Oh, is this a one-armed man?
Yeah, this is the very first appearance of Phillip Gerard, the one-armed man, which is obviously a nod to The Fugitive.
Obviously a nod to The Fugitive, and which Charles and I, being from Ohio, is a big deal for us.
Now here's what I'm wondering. Hawk is supposedly this like fantastic tracker, but yet he loses a one-armed man in a morgue.
Well, the one-armed man is pretty crafty.
He's not that crafty. He's just somehow ducked out on him, and Hawk's just like,
and he probably doesn't want to go in the oxygen storage. That's dangerous.
Yeah, but where did the one-armed man go? So yeah,
I think he's more keeping tabs on the one-armed man than anything else.
I just expect better from Hawk. I guess.
Oh, saddle shoes.
All right, like a mini Audrey dance here.
Little mini Audrey dance.
Little swaying back and forth, all dreamy.
Here's to Billy. But I'm having a hard time remembering, what do we know about a one-armed man at this point?
Nothing.
No, I didn't think so.
That's his first appearance, so yeah.
That's the thing about Hawk, is that there's nothing.
Yeah, he's just like this really odd guy.
I think the only thing that to Hawk that is suspicious about the one-armed man.
It's like, Jesus, Audrey, don't you know any other songs? This is your only song.
Have I asked you not to disturb the guests with your racket? Anyway, I think the only thing that's suspicious about the one-armed man to Hawk is that Hawk doesn't know him. Hawk's never seen him before.
So there's no reason to be that suspicious of him.
Right, and Hawk being a police officer in this tiny town, you'd think he would know a lot of people, but this guy is new, and why would a one-armed man in civilian clothes go into a morgue or into oxygen storage?
Well, that's the thing. Is like, you think it would be suspicious just because, like, hey, stranger in town, he's in the morgue of all places. So something's up with this guy. You think he would want to? You think he would kind of want to follow him more?
I think he just wants to keep tabs on him because, again,
but maybe he had to get back to the Plaskies.
I would think so. Hawk is a good cop. He's not a Chad cop.
This is true. Well, thank
So
God.
he's not gonna mess around with people who are not breaking the law yet.
Nobody's as bad as a Chad cop.
Chad is the worst. Chad's the worst. So
you suck, Chad. We hate you.
You suck, Chad. We hate you. Now we have Benjamin Horne figuring out that Audrey is what made the Norwegians leave.
Yep.
And we see this contemptuous relationship that she has with her father, but that she's obviously the child who acts out to get parental attention.
Yes.
And he is just not having it, and just has no problem.
Because it affects his money. So yeah, this is a big deal. So, and he gets all up in her grill and shakes her, wags the finger,
and he's going to send her to a convent if she
right,
if she does this again. And so she's trying to fight.
Oh, Daddy, I'm so scared.
She just wants to be loved by. Oh, this is the worst line ever. Laura died 2 years ago. I lost you years ago. Yeah. And you're like, oh, Benjamin Horne, you're the worst father ever. You are. And look at how heartbroken she is.
Yeah, it's like a horrible thing to say to your daughter. I don't care if you're having problems with her or not.
Just wants her father to love her.
Totally out of bounds.
He's just a horrible, horrible human being.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
No amount of carrots could solve that problem.
No amount of carrots is going to make him a decent man. Seriously.
Oh, and speaking of great parental relationships, here's Major Briggs with Bobby.
Major Briggs, with his complete and total inability to remember what being a teenager was like.
Yep.
His militaristic order requirements of his home.
He's so square you could cut your fingers on the corners.
So I follow Charlotte Stewart on Twitter.
Right.
And she has, to this day, a huge following of Little House on the Prairie fans.
I didn't even know she was in Little House on the Prairie.
I had completely forgotten that she was in Little House on the Prairie as well, and I think she's Nellie's mom. But I forget. Let me look that up while we're talking about.
I was never that big of a Little House on the Prairie fan, but Lori was. So.
Oh, that was a girls' thing. That was totally a girls' thing because girls read those books. That would be
why. Yes.
Yeah, we read those books.
Bitch slap.
The cigarette in the meatloaf
goes
just
flying
me out. Oh my god.
And Bobby's just like, oh, you didn't just do that. No, you didn't.
Well, and now Charlotte Stewart's mom can't have dinner. She has cigarette meatloaf. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Grosses me right the heck out. So,
and then she just looks at the cigarette and goes like, "We're here for you, Bobby." Bobby's just like, "What the effing F?"
No, she's not Nellie's mom.
Yeah, I can't imagine why Bobby turned out like that.
Oh, yeah, seriously.
Cooper's first cherry pie at the Double R.
My gosh. If anything could beat the Lamplighter Inn,
right.
It's about to happen now. Eva Beadle. I don't remember Eva Beadle.
Cooper's kind of flirting with Shelley there.
Who doesn't? Shelley is a sweetheart.
That's right. He's single. It's allowed.
I think for Shelley Johnson with a J, nervous about meeting Jay tonight. We're putting things together here, Cooper.
Mm-hmm. Can't get that taste of the coffee out of my mouth.
And I think the fish coffee. So
yep.
gross.
Well, hi, log lady.
Whatever.
Loser.
Can I ask her about her log? Many have. But
that's
I probably wouldn't.
That's not an answer.
That's not an answer. The thing that's also about...
When they asked Norma about the Meals on Wheels here.
Right. Also about Cooper kind of flirting with Shelley. I think there's nothing sexier to a man than a lovely woman that brings him good food.
Right.
That's the old wives' tale saying. The best way to a man's heart is through his stomach.
Yep, that is true. This is true.
You must have the metabolism of a bumblebee.
Yep.
Because he has had 2 bites of pie.
Yep.
And he's ordered 2 more slices.
Yeah,
of pie.
he wants 2 more slices of pie.
Right.
2 more slices of this fabulous pie, or incredible
One
pie.
day,
incredible.
My log will have something to say about this. And so, but today is not that day.
So, Well, ask it, idiot.
Ask it.
No, not happening.
I love how her log has two little arms.
Yep.
Like, hey, I'm still in here. I'm a log.
He's trapped. That's okay. It's okay, Cooper. It would have been a boring conversation anyway.
The football's empty.
Stab that football. It's okay. The football had it coming.
Yeah, obviously the football didn't have dinner ready on time. Jeez.
Get me a beer.
Oh, look at! He's a horrible human being.
Leo with the sock in
he's putting soap,
or the soap in the sock.
A bar of soap in a sock, and he's going to whack the living crap out of Shelley with it.
Horrible.
Is he dead yet? I mean, now are we all realizing why I was so happy to find out in the dossier that he is finally dead?
Yeah.
My favorite blue shirt, where is it? Well, I don't know. Who'd you kill while you were wearing it?
Yeah. What, you can't, start a load of laundry yourself?
No, obviously not.
You got two hands.
All he wanted was a maid. He didn't have to pay.
Right.
So.
Let me turn on the radio to cover up the noise.
the captions, I have the captions on, and it says oldies rock music playing on radio.
That is not oldies rock music.
That is so funny.
That is hilarious.
I'm laughing at the captions, people, not at the abuse. Abuse is a horrible thing, and if you are experiencing it or know someone who has experienced it, please reach out for help.
Yeah, we here at Ghostwood do not tolerate abuse.
We do not. We have a zero tolerance
policy. Yes.
For humans and animals.
Yep.
So
here James meets the parents.
Here's the adorableness of James Hurley meeting Donna's parents. Yeah, 2 days after your girlfriend died, and now you have a new girlfriend.
Hey, gotta move on. Life's short.
James is my kind of guy.
Oh, and the funny thing is, he's all cleaned up. He's wearing a sweater here.
I know, he's so cute. He's so cute. And the parents don't care that he rides a motorcycle as long as it's slacks. Yeah, they don't care that he's riding a motorcycle as long as he's safe about it.
Right.
He's my kind of guy, though. If I were at somebody's house and they offered me that choice of beverages, I too would have chosen fruit punch.
Fruit punch, yes.
Oh my gosh, I had this thing recently.
Now I want fruit punch.
Seriously, there's a line of hard beverages called "Not Your Father's Whatever."
Right.
There's "Not Your Father's Root Beer," "Not Your Father's Mountain Ale" or something like that. It's basically alcoholic Mountain Dew. "Not Your Father's Ginger Ale," and I tried recently "Not Your Father's Fruit Punch." It's like alcoholic Hawaiian punch. It is the greatest thing ever.
I have not tried that. I have to try that.
It's very, very scary because it tastes like fruit punch, and then you're thinking, oh, this is delicious, and I'm thirsty, and then all of a sudden you've had 7.
Well, I guess I'll go help Eileen so you two kids can have some time alone.
Oh, so cute! Look at the bowl of fruit and gourd.
He's all smiling and happy and like a kid.
Aww. The Haywards. Oh, you know what? Screw you, Benjamin Horn.
Yep.
You're a horrible person.
And then Mike and Bobby pull up.
Here we have Mike, Mr. Bonehead Boyfriend.
Mike is the man.
First your girlfriend, then mine.
Yep.
So, too bad we can only kill him once.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what, Bobby? I think you have enough problems. You owe Leo Johnson $10,000.
Oh, meanwhile, Dr. Jacoby's.
I'm making you another one of these tapes. Oh, look at that badass stereo system Dr. Jacoby has.
I had something like that.
With his old school headphones set up with the coily wire.
Right, and he's got the reel-to-reel tape player.
Uh-huh. This is quite the hi-fi setup that he's got.
Next to his aquarium.
What exactly is in that aquarium?
I think it's just lights. It
honestly looks like something you would buy at Spencer's.
Yeah. Yeah, the decor by Spencer's Gifts.
Uh-huh.
And then he takes this fake coconut off a fake palm tree in his
he's Willy Wonka or something.
Yeah. And he kicks back in his favorite chair with a headphone, one headphone to his ear, and then he places the coconut in a very creepy place.
And then he starts rubbing the hairy coconut.
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Jacoby's a little bit. Oh, what did he just find out?
I don't know. He just smelled his own. Ha ha ha! Dun dun dun! The other half of the heart.
Who dug up the heart necklace in the middle of the night? We didn't have long to wait for that. So now we have a second suspect, murder suspect. Laura Palmer's secret doctor, who is secretly in love with her, that is secretly following her boyfriend and best friend,
and secretly making her tapes.
Secretly digging up her necklace. And what has she told him that made him cry?
Yep,
we don't know.
To be continued. Executive producers Mark Frost and David Lynch.
Why is this show only an hour long?
Dun, dun, dun.
I could watch this all night, yes.
And then
then we have the Laura's
homecoming queen photo.
Which I think I've told you this before, but my friend Babs had this photo in her house, like just in a frame with other pictures. And people thought it was her. They're like, "Why do you have this picture of yours?" I'm like, "When were you homecoming queen?" She's like, "What is wrong with you? That's Laura Palmer."
Okay, I'm gonna stop my my video here.
Alrighty.
All right, so that was our first commentary, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope we didn't ruin it by talking all over the episode, but
well, I would hope.
But that's kind of the point of the commentary, right?
Well, and I hope that this wouldn't be your first time ever watching this.
No.
And if it is, I hope you enjoyed our insights.
Yes. And if it's not, if you've watched this over and over, hopefully we've given you a nice little fresh outlook on an episode that you've watched over and over.
Exactly. Oh, I forgot that there was a Log Lady intro to these.
Yes.
I haven't watched those in a while. I used to, because the Log Lady intro.
Well, they were on Bravo. They did reruns on Bravo, and that's where I saw them for the first time.
That's what they did them for. Was for the reruns on Bravo, and so I remember making sure I taped those as well,
right.
And remember that they had some sort of coherent line with them all together, sort of like the McBain clips on The Simpsons.
Right.
But if you put them all together, they actually made sense as a movie.
So one thing notable about this episode we didn't really talk about. So this is the first appearance of Frank Silva as Bob. But though his character isn't really identified at this point.
No, we just see him at the foot of Laura's bed, and we see Sarah Palmer have the vision of him at the foot of Laura's bed and scream out, rightfully so, because not only is it a vision of a man in her daughter's bedroom,
a creepy-looking man,
but the creepiest man of all time in her daughter's bedroom. And again,
man so creepy, his Funko is creepy.
His Funko, I think I've told you that I keep my Funko figures mostly. I try to keep my Funko figures limited.
Yes.
Because that is a rabbit hole that I could fall through the earth onto the other side of the planet through.
Right. I totally agree.
So I try to just buy them for things that I absolutely really, really adore, and a lot of the ones I have are TV and movie related. And so I try to keep them. I keep them by the DVDs of the things that I like, and I have these DVD cabinets with doors. They are IKEA Billies with doors on them. For those of you who are a part of the cult of IKEA, like I am. And the Bob figure, and the doors have glass. They have glass in them, but then there are the borders.
Yeah.
Bob is behind those borders, so I don't have to look at it.
Well,
even my own Funko figure, I've hidden.
Well, we should point out that before we started recording, I had Bob as a display behind me.
I made you move it.
Yeah, I took it down because it was freaking Zan out way too much.
Yep, I made you move it because it was just staring at me with those dead little Funko eyes.
I mean, I had it there beside others, so it wasn't just the Bob figure, but...
You've got Cooper, Audrey, and the Log Lady, but Bob was there too, and so I appreciate you moving him so he didn't look at me the whole time.
Yeah. I didn't want you to be disturbed by that, get all twitchy the entire episode as we recorded.
He's scary, I'm sorry. And who would have thought that, hair and makeup guy would have been such a good actor.
And that's the really interesting about Frank Silva here. So Frank was the art director for the series, I believe.
I thought it was hair and makeup. Oh, I remembered that wrong.
Well, unless I'm wrong, I could be wrong.
No, you're probably right.
Okay, but apparently,
off of memory, you obviously did research.
Yeah. But apparently, what happened was he was accidentally caught on camera during a shoot, and Lynch saw the footage, and he's like, "Yeah, that guy looks pretty cool." So he's in the cast from now on.
Oh my gosh!
So hell of a way to break into the TV.
And when I've read interviews of other cast members talking about him, they said he was the sweetest human you'd ever want to meet.
Right, I would hope so, because he's playing this thoroughly despicable, horrible creature. Mm-hmm. And you can say creature because he's from another dimension, right?
Right, he's not human. He's something else.
Something else. So, and it just kind of makes sense that playing somebody so horrible in real life, he'd be like the complete opposite.
And that's good. That's good. And I hope he didn't do like a Christian Slater thing, Christian Bale
Yeah.
kind of thing where he stays in character.
Like a method actor type thing?
Right, where he stays in character and just walks around freaking people out.
Kind of like, or Heath Ledger when he was the Joker, or Jared Leto when he was the Joker.
Or,
Yeah.
Just sort of walking around. Or didn't David Prowse do that? He would just show up and just dress up like Darth Vader. And
I think so.
Even when he wasn't, like if he was done for the day, he'd stay in his costume and just walk around.
Yeah, I know Robert De Niro method acts a lot too. So yeah.
I have a lot of respect for the actors who swear by the method.
Right.
Method. But when I was in theater school, I didn't particularly like method acting all that much because I didn't feel like it was acting.
Yeah, it's just you taking on this other persona.
Well, if for example, I'll use a Simpsons reference because that's what I do.
Yes, I would expect nothing else.
There's a Simpsons episode where James Woods comes to Springfield to work at the Quickie Mart because in his next movie he's going to be a convenience store owner.
Right. I remember that.
This
is James Wood before he became completely horrible, by the way.
Well, before we all knew he was completely horrible.
Right, that's true. That's true. Good point.
He was, if you ask Sean Young, he was still a rapist. So, oh, hey, what's up, Fred?
That's Fred. Hey, my little stuffed dinosaur, Fred.
Charles is a very adorable stuffed dinosaur who looks like, for those of you Pokemon fans, he looks like a cross between Totodile and Charmander. He kind of looks like Totodile, but he's Charmander colored.
Yeah.
So anyway, what happens is this is the episode where Homer eats the tainted meat from the Quickie Mart, so Apu gets fired.
Right.
And they need somebody to take over for Apu, and James Woods gets his agent to get him into that gig because he's going to be a convenience store owner in his next movie. Well, the thing is, if you are a convenience store owner, how is that acting? Research is one thing, but like spending 6 months as that thing to become that thing.
Right.
I don't know. It just doesn't feel like acting to me.
No.
I'm all for research, but I think method can take it a little too far sometimes.
Yeah. Well, obviously it did in Heath Ledger's case because he couldn't apparently get out of the role.
That poor bastard.
Yes.
No, he couldn't get out of it, and he had terrible insomnia and nightmares and too much Ambien. And he just never woke up.
Yeah, we know all about the Ambien these days, don't we?
Did you see the statement that Sanofi put out?
No.
that they're aware of that they have a very diverse workforce.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
They celebrate diversity, and they know that racism is not a side effect.
Yeah,
of
this
their
is the maker of Ambien. Yeah.
Yes, the makers of Ambien, who Roseanne Barr is blaming for her racist tweet tirades.
Right, and the makers came out with this actual statement said, no, it doesn't.
Nope, that's not it. It will
that's
make
on you. The racism's on you.
It'll make you sleep eat.
Right.
But it will not make you sleep racist.
Right. So that was pretty epic of them to do that.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
So all right. So anything else about this episode?
I think this episode did a great job of ending on a similar but different enough cliffhanger that you really want to keep watching.
Right. And that's kind of important because these episodes right after the pilot episode, because you obviously want to keep the audience watching. So it was key to have a very successful episode, and it helped that they had Mark Frost and David Lynch writing the script to kind of keep the overall tone going. But it's a credit to Dwayne Dunham that he created such a compelling episode that it kept viewers watching.
And we introduced, we continued, and we got some more clarification on some things. Like we know it's not James. We know it's not James.
Right.
We're pretty sure it's not Mike and Bobby, but they're up to something. But what is it?
And Leo just becomes even more suspicious.
We really are thinking it's Leo at this point.
And obviously, with the introduction of Bob, that's a major addition to the mythos.
Right, and we also are thinking
and Phillip Gerard, who becomes a major character.
Right. We get some new mysteries in this episode. We get who is the one-armed man.
Right.
We get who is this creepy gray-haired guy at the foot of the bed.
Right.
And we get what the heck is the sawmill owner and the hotel magnate doing in bed together, and what are they plotting?
Right.
And
we get, like, who is this Albert Rosenfeld that Cooper's talking to?
We are going to be so well rewarded with that question.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yeah, when Miguel Ferrer shows up, we're going to be very happy on both of our ends, I think.
Welcome to Amateur Hour.
Look, it's trying to think.
Where do they keep his water dish? So we have
many good lines.
We know Albert is coming soon because Cooper said they're going to put her in the ground Monday. Yep. So he doesn't have a lot of time before the burial. And we have another suspect, which is Dr. Jacoby. Right. Who is this weird guy who,
and why does he have the other half of the necklace?
Because we know from the end of the pilot that somebody dug it up in the middle of the night and was obviously following these kids around.
Yeah. Why was he doing that? Yeah.
Why does he want it? Right. So what is his deal? And so obviously there's, does he want the other half of the necklace because he lost the first half? We don't quite know what's going on with him. So there are a lot of mysteries in this episode. And when I'm watching this again, this really isn't that weird yet.
No.
We've got some weird characters.
Well, next episode is when Twin Peaks finally achieves its potential, I think.
Okay.
Because, that's when we have Cooper's dream.
We have Cooper's dream, yes.
And so that's next episode.
But we also have a weird town.
Yeah.
And we've seen TV shows before where the setting is quirky, but the show's not that hard to understand. Like if you take something like a Night Court, for example,
or Newhart.
Or Newhart. This is a ragtag group of weirdos in a weird situation.
Yeah.
But it's a coherent show. And I think Twin Peaks is still at that point right now. These are weird people in this small town. Small towns have always had a reputation of being very strange and having a seedy underbelly. And so this is a trope that we all know. But I think it does a good job of hooking you before it starts to get weird. So by the time it does get weird,
well, yeah, because it starts off as more. It starts off as more of a procedural mystery.
Yes, exactly.
And just kind of a stylish one. And then again, once we hit episode 3, it evolves into something else.
Yes. Yes, it becomes
something other.
Right, but by the time that happens, you've been with it. I mean, I think the theory is you've been with it so long.
Right, because by the end of the third episode, or the next episode, third episode really, or second full episode, that you've watched 4 hours of Twin Peaks by this point.
Right.
Or that
so
point.
you're into it. You're committed. And but by that point, the weirdness seems so gradual that you've almost come to you almost don't notice
you're kind of into it now. Like you've kind of you know what the kind of you sort of know what to expect, and then when that dream sequence hits, you're like, what the F did I just watch?
And I think they do a good job too that they're not like in the lodge yet. That's still just a dream. Dreams are weird. Everybody knows dreams are weird.
Right.
And so it's still fairly accessible. And I think this show kind of got badly tarred with the brush of being too weird, because it was, by the time word of mouth came in that this was a good show, if you started into it, then I think you were a little bit lost. But I think you could say that about any mystery show. We were talking before we started recording today about Westworld.
Right, which is
if you were to come into Westworld, episode 1 of season 2, there's a lot of story that you missed about why these robots are killing people.
There's certain shows like that, like Lost or Legion is a good recent example of this, where it's hard to just dive right into season 2. You'd have to watch it from season 1,
right,
and binge watch it.
And I think any ongoing mystery show, is going to have that situation. And I think because this was David Lynch, I think people didn't. They sort of forgot about the fact that this is still an ongoing mystery show, so therefore it's going to be hard to jump in, and they just focused on, oh, it's just David Lynch, it's just too weird, I can't. Meh. So
Well, keep in mind this was unlike anything else on television at the
this
time.
is true. Yeah,
This was a very innovative show. So, and up till now, TV audience or TV critics especially were just geared toward the traditional. They weren't ready for this. Is like one of the probably the first like show that challenged them.
I think so. It was, and it definitely required that you pay attention.
You had to pay attention, and you had to kind of think about it and interpret it.
Yes, and even when you think about quote unquote mystery shows back, before this, I think probably the most serious one was Perry Mason.
Right.
Where, the courtroom drama. But you had, the mystery shows that were, it starts out with a murder and ends with a resolution.
Like the Rockford Files or
Rockford Files.
Columbo.
I was just going to say any of those NBC movies where you have Columbo, McMillan and Wife, Quincy.
The NBC Mystery Movie of the Week.
Yeah, NBC.
Which I love, by the way.
Yeah, those are all fantastic. Quincy is, of course, my favorite of those. Right. But then you had other shows like Magnum PI and Simon and Simon and Remington Steele and Moonlighting,
right?
And even Murder, She Wrote and Matlock. They have this sort of quaint, almost with comedy peppered in.
Well, with Moonlighting was another kind of innovative show because it was breaking the fourth wall
all the time,
right? So, But for the most part, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Right, because even, if you watched, Columbo's a perfect example that every episode of Columbo ended on kind of a little bit of a laugh, just by the way, just one more thing.
Yeah.
You all have a good night now.
Yeah.
And
so with a little wink and the nod to the audience as
Right, or like the Jessica Fletcher mysteries were kind of goofy, and, there were some little funny moments in all of them, and same thing with, Simon and Simon. They were dramedies, comedic. As brothers, they were sort of comedic foils of each other. Same thing with Remington Steele. They were comedic foils with each other. And I think they took that with Moonlighting and took it and went in a different direction. But even the dramas back then ended in people smiling and laughing. I mean, we always joke about that it was, it ends in a laugh or a moral.
Right.
And this show is not like that. The comedy in this show is very, very different. It's in things.
Well, there's kind of a dark humor to it, but there's also just this offbeat humor.
Dark and offbeat humor. Just in this episode, ask it. Yeah, I thought so. Just everybody sort of knows this log is kind of bizarre. Or
like a cigarette landing in Betty Briggs's Meal. Yeah.
Yeah.
After Bobby gets slapped by his father.
Right. Or then in a couple episodes from now, it's like, who's on the phone? James, get him over here. I need help. Hey, who the hell ever heard of diet lasagna?
SOS. Yeah.
So, you have little things like that. Or I think you said you told your sister you'd put air in her bicycle tires.
Right.
Things like that where the comedy is.
It comes out of the story, the characters, because these are offbeat characters, so they're going to say weird things. Exactly,
and I think and like we said, this show was the first to do all of that. You would not have had a Northern Exposure,
right,
without this showing that people do respond to offbeat comedy.
Yes. It was groundbreaking. That's one of the reasons why we love it.
Right. There, and it is hard to remember sometimes how bad, not bad,
just
TV wasn't bad before this, but stale and
predictable.
Stale, predictable, and kind of saccharine it was before this. Yeah. That you did have breakout things like, and I will say there would never have been a Twin Peaks if there hadn't been a Twilight Zone or an Outer Limits or a Dark Shadows.
Yes.
Put those things together and you have the the precedent for knowing that there's an audience for not the normal thing. Dark Shadows especially, because Twin Peaks is very soap opera-like in the fact that it's a continuing story. It's not a new mystery every time.
That's a great observation.
Not just a new thing.
And you had those continuing plot threads, and you did have quirky characters on that show as well.
Right. And, and other things like Alfred Hitchcock Presents and Thriller. Alfred Hitchcock Presents is the pinnacle of dark comedy, of black comedy on television. With his little interstitials where he's making really, really dark jokes.
Right.
And again, that sets the precedent for it. There is an audience for this. We can do this. And you put all of these things together, the mystery shows, the horror shows, the wacky comedies, and even something like Night Court. There was nothing like Night Court when that first came out. It was very wacky and offbeat at the time. I think the closest thing you could have gotten to that was maybe a WKRP in Cincinnati. But even that was pretty mainstream.
Yeah.
Until Thanksgiving. The absolute funniest Thanksgiving episode of anything on television
pretty much
is WKRP and Cincinnati Turkey Drop. But you had these sort of wacky offbeat comedies, or even things with younger audience, like a Misfits of Science, which didn't last very long.
I loved Misfits of Science.
Loved Misfits. There was that.
I'm one of the few people that actually remembers the theme song to Misfits of Science.
That's a good one, yeah.
Misfits Science. Yeah,
really passionately sung theme song. And you had that mid-'80s weird show renaissance where you had
like
Automan, Misfits of Science, Black Magic, Amazing Stories, the Twilight Zone revival, and then you had all those syndicated shows like Monsters, Tales from the Dark Side, Tales from the Crypt, Friday the 13th, the series.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we have all our millennial listeners are like, what are all these shows you're talking about?
They're amazing, kids, and YouTube and find them.
Yeah,
or
like do your homework, kids. TV actually existed before 1990.
My Friday nights when I was like 7th and 8th grade,
usually
consisted of my friend Nicole and I going to the continent to see a movie, and then coming home just in time to watch Freddy's Nightmares.
Right.
So we had this sort of talk about a black comedy as well.
Right.
Very, very darkly humorous. Friday the 13th, the series, kids, has absolutely nothing to do with Jason Voorhees. I'm still not sure why it has that title, but it's still a good show.
It's Friday the 13th in name only.
In name only, yes. It's an older man and his niece and nephew, I believe, trying to locate cursed items that were sold out of their cursed.
Yeah.
Out of his brother's,
which has absolutely nothing to do with the Friday the 13th movies.
Nothing to do with the Jason Voorhees thing. They never even. There's never a nod.
Not his mother.
Nope. Nothing. So, you had that kind of stuff on TV, but I think this was the culmination of all of that precedence into a mature cult following. That it wasn't because. I'll talk about something like Freddy's Nightmares or Monsters or something like that, and I know it wasn't the greatest show, but I still loved it. And a lot of the love that we have for those earlier shows is the cheese value.
Yeah.
But
when you were a kid watching those shows, you thought, well, this is pretty cool. This is
right, but even a lot of episodes of Amazing Stories were funny.
Yeah.
Twilight Zone, not so much. Twilight Zone, I think, has always had quite a, it's like a 10% humorous episode ratio in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
But when we get to Twin Peaks, I don't think anybody's going to look back at Twin Peaks and say, "Oh, that was a cheesy show, but I still loved it." I mean, this was
no. I mean, it's kind of a credit because, well, with the way this show is presented, it almost has like a timeless quality to it. Like it's this small town in the middle of nowhere, and it's already like when the show aired in 1990, it already looked retro.
It did, and I
And
remember saying at the time that I remember watching the show and thinking, I'm currently in high school. I don't know anyone who dresses like this.
right, because I mean, you had like Audrey Horne in the pilot. She's wearing saddle shoes,
Right.
and you know, like they some they and at least they had like Audrey in the pilot. She had kind of like a very retro hairstyle,
Hmm.
and you know, just everything with the that kind of like almost like a strange '50s vibe to it. Like you
Oh,
had
definitely.
like the principal, high school principal has this major buzz cut,
Hmm.
and you had Major Briggs, and so yeah, just a general overall kind of retro feel to it. And I think
And
and because of that, you could still watch it today and like, okay, it had a retro vibe to it. It it you know, just the fact that it was, you know, it's been 25 years since the show ran. Apart from just, you know, being in 4:3 ratio and just the like the flannel and the mullets, etc., you would
hmm
kind of think, well, maybe it could have been done today.
right, the show does have a timeless quality, and I think a lot of the throwback visual to the 1950s
Right.
is a commentary on the 50s were the pinnacle of the American small town, Main Street USA, American dream sort of backdrop. You know, you take a look at Twin Peaks and you can sort of compare it to like a Hill Valley. You know,
Yeah.
there's a diner that all the kids go to,
Right.
and it has it has the bullies and the, it's
It
everything.
does have like a Back to the Future vibe to it too.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's got a Hill Valley feel to it. It's got a Smallville feel to it.
Smallville's
These
a good yeah
the
comparison.
the this sort of 1950s,
Like a throwback to a different era.
yeah, the post-war row houses,
Yeah.
diner in the town center, the general store, that kind of feel. It has that feel, and so
You had the,
it
like
does.
bikers and
Yeah.
you know, just the like almost something like out of a like on the waterfront.
Oh yes.
As we know from
Let's say, let's not mention Brando anymore.
yeah, Wally Brando.
Oh well, Brando.
Poor Michael Cera.
Michael Cera. Yeah. I'm not going to say anything bad about him, but that went on like 5 minutes too long.
Yeah, I just feel bad. Like they made him do that take, and then they made him do it all over again.
Oh my goodness.
Hilarious. All right. Anything else about this episode? Do you have a rating for this episode?
Oh my goodness. Rating. Oh, this is hard. Rating the general episodes is like picking your favorite child, really.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm probably going to give most of these episodes at least a 9.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because I gave it 9 fishes in the percolator.
Percolators. That's a good one. I will give it. Let's see. 9 oxygen storage rooms.
There's an obscure reference.
Yes.
Well played. All right, so next time on Ghostwood, we get
Episode 2.
Yep. So we're going to do our next commentary episode, Zen or the Skill to Catch a Killer.
Oh, Zen with Zen and Charles.
Yeah, Zan with Zen or Zen
like
with Zen. Yes. Yeah. Although just keep your Z's and your X's straight, okay? On that
Keep them straight, yes, because otherwise you won't be able to find me on Twitter or Facebook.
Right. So how could they do that? As you excellently set me up for a perfect segue.
You like that segue?
That was brilliant.
I'm of course one of the admins and therefore reachable on our Ghostwood site on both Facebook and Twitter.
Right.
And I'm on Facebook as myself as Zan Sprouse.
Right.
And on Twitter and Instagram as Udanax19.
And you definitely need to follow her because she's awesome and she posts some really cool stuff.
I do my best.
You do excellently.
Thank you.
And so, if you want to reach us here at Ghostwood, you can reach us on the Twitter machine at GhostwoodCast, or you can email us the email at ghostwoodpodcast@gmail.com at the Gmail.
I hope that it's from a female. Does anybody remember Strong Bad emails, or is it just us?
I don't know. I'm sure there are a lot of Homestar Runner fans out there, but
I hope so, because that was.
I just
I
every time I say Gmail, it makes me think of Strong Bad. So I kind of slip into the voice, obviously.
The G-Man.
The G-Man.
I freaking lived for Strong Bad in like
the G-Man. The
2004.
G-Man. Oh, the G-Man.
Oh, the G-Man. Still, my favorite thing about the intro to that website when Homestar is trying to explain what's going on, Strong Bad he's like, I'm sick of this, and he throws Strong Bad out of the way. He's like, all right, you don't know it yet, but I'm the reason you're here. It's like, yeah, it's true.
Now I want to watch some Strong Bad. So otherwise, if you want to reach us on the Facebook, you can reach us at Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast. We would definitely appreciate you liking us there as well. And drop us a line there. Let us know what you think of our first commentaries. Is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it a weird thing? Or just can't wait for the next one? Let us know. As for me, you can reach me on the Twitter machine at Charles Skaggs or at Charles Skaggs on the Instagram. Google Plus for all you crazy kids on the Google Plus. Shout out to Karen. And Facebook, of course, at Charles Skaggs. Or my blog of geeky things.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot. Or as Cooper liked to say in this episode, damn fine coffee.
Damn fine coffee.
Damn fine coffee. So, damn good coffee and hot, where I talk about all the stuff we talk about here on Ghostwood, or Twin Peaks, or all kinds of comic book sci-fi goodness, and movie reviews and more, so please check that out. And my other podcast that I do for Southgate Media Group, the Phantom Zone podcast that I do with Karen Lindsay, and who was kind enough to talk with us here a couple episodes back on Ghostwood. Or Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast that I do with Jesse Jackson, or Titan Talk, the Titans podcast that I do with Jesse Jackson as well.
So many Southgate Media podcasts. How do you keep track of them all? I'll tell you.
How?
The Southgate Media Patreon.
Yeah, do that, because that
helps.
Go to
Patreon.
That helps us keep the lights on.
Look up Southgate Media, see what you like, and if you realize, hey, I like quite a few of these, maybe slip us a few bucks a month.
Yeah, just whatever you feel like, if you're so inclined, we definitely appreciate it, because it does help the show.
It does help the show, and
it helps Rob, because Rob's got all kinds of things going on, and helps other podcasts as well.
And it's better than going to the McDonald's dollar menu a couple times a month.
Well, certainly save on the calories, if nothing else.
Well, and it lasts longer, and I personally think we taste better. So I don't know though. If they still had deep fried apple pies, I don't think we could compete with that.
Damn good podcast and hot. Yeah. So yeah.
And no one can compete with fried pie though.
I'll have two more slices of this incredible podcast.
Incredible pie. Excellent.
You like that? All right.
I like that, yeah.
So everybody, come on back for Zen or the Skill to Catch a Killer, a.k.a. the episode with Cooper's Dream. This is a biggie. So,
yes.
Yeah. So, obviously, Sheriff, we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Lot to talk about.
So, thanks everybody for listening to Ghostwood. Hope you enjoyed our first commentary, and we will see you next time right here, Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.